Hello Croatian learners, and welcome back to our channel Learn Croatian. My name is Ines, and today I would love to talk to you about the possessive pronouns in Croatian, moj and tvoj, or my and yours. So stay tuned and let's learn together. Let's talk about the possessive pronouns in Croatian in general. So the first thing that you need to know about the possessive pronouns is that they behave like adjectives. Now this is important because if you have studied adjectives and if you have studied nouns, then you know that the adjective that stands with the noun, it has to match the noun in three categories. It has to have the same case, the same gender, grammatical gender of course, and the same count, so singular or plural. So when you think of possessive pronouns, think of adjectives like that will have to match the noun in these three categories. This is very important. Now, the reason why I'm doing the possessive pronouns in separate videos, I'm not going to do them all together, and I'll show you in a minute why. There seems to be quite a lot of possessive pronouns, and the reason for this is because each pronoun has a different form for each gender. Just like the adjectives have different forms for each gender, they have different endings, so to say. And for this reason, I would like to focus first on the first possessive pronouns, or the first pronouns, mine and yours. This is also the most common pronoun that you will use, just like me and you, or I and you. These are some of the words that you will use a lot. But don't worry, I will cover in the next videos all the other possessive pronouns. But first, let's go through all of the pronouns so that you can see what you are expected to learn, or what you need to learn in order to use them all in your everyday speech. So please look at the table here. The first thing that you'll notice is that I have put these pronouns in order: my, your, his, her, its, our, your, plural, and their, right? Okay. The first thing that you'll notice is that for each pronoun, you have three different forms, right? And well, as you can see in the top here, you have the masculine form, the feminine form, and the neuter form. Now, one of the things that I haven't included in this table right here is that there are slightly longer forms for some of these pronouns. When I talk about each one, I will introduce these to you, but if you know only these, it'll be sufficient and it'll be enough. So let's go through each one of them, okay? If you look at the first person, my, you can see three different forms: moj, moja, moje, depending of course on the gender. If you want to say yours, you will see that the endings are similar: tvoj, tvoja, tvoje. So you see you have these similar different endings, right? For this reason, we are going to study these two today in detail. But let's move on. You see the third person, his, okay? So for each gender, you have, again, three different forms. So even though his is essentially a masculine form, right? Still, he can possess something of a different gender. He can possess, let's say, a house, and a house is feminine, so you need a form for the feminine form, right? And so on. So his would be njegov, njegova, njegovo. And you also notice that his and its have the same form, right? Her would be njen, njena, njeno. Our, the first person plural, would be naš, naša, naše. The second person plural, your, would be vaš, vaša, vaše. And the third person plural, their, would be njihov, njihova, njihovo. Now, it doesn't matter if there is a couple of guys, a couple of girls, or guys and girls mixed together. It doesn't differentiate in that way as it does the third person singular. So there would be just njihov, njihova, njihovo. But I'll cover this in another video. Now, you could have noticed that there are pronouns which have similar endings. So in this next table, I have grouped them together, and this is how we are going to learn them in our next videos. As you can see, moj and tvoj, my and your, are very similar. The root of the word is different, but the ending is the same. Another one that is very similar is the third person singular and the third person plural, right? His and its and the their. Again, it's a different root of the word, but the endings for the genders are the same. And we are going to study these together in the next video. Another group of pronouns which are quite the same is the first person and second person plural, our and your. Again, you can see that the root of the word is different, but the endings for different genders are the same. And then I kind of singled out the pronoun hers because it doesn't really match any of the ones mentioned above. But the endings for the genders match those of his and its and their, so we will study them together as well. So without further ado, let's learn about my and your. If you watched our personal pronouns video, then you will see that I went through different cases. And I want to do this now because what you essentially need to learn is when to use each form, when to use each case. Of course, if you have not studied the cases, please visit our videos on the different cases. This will help you a lot when you learn all the other grammar stuff, because cases, unfortunately, yes, they're hard, but they are necessary to learn, and you can do it. Believe me, you can do it. It's not difficult. It's not impossible. But let's see how we can learn, how we can use these different pronouns through the different cases right now. The first case and the most common case that you will use is the nominative case, of course. The nominative case is the case of the subject of the sentence. So whenever you are expressing a subject, or if the part of the verb is actually the part of the subject, if you're pointing at something or introducing someone and you're saying this is da-da-da, then the da-da-da will also be in the nominative. So if you're introducing someone, this is my sister is going to be in the nominative case because it is the part of the predicate, a part of the main part of the sentence. So remember, the nominative, it's the case, it's the form that is the basic form of every word. Whenever you use or learn a new word, a new noun, you learn it in its nominative case, okay? So let's look at the possessive form for mine, your in the nominative. If you have remembered it from previous from the previous table, here's to refresh your memory. So mine is through the genders, moj, moja, moje. And your is tvoj, tvoja, tvoje. Now, please remember the number one rule: the possessive pronouns behave like adjectives. They have to match the noun by which they stand in its case, in its gender, and its count, right? So I will use the three different nouns with three different genders. I'll use a brother for a masculine, I will use a sister for feminine, and a village for neuter gender, okay? Brat, sestra, and selo. Okay, so going back to the nominative is the case for the subject or the predicate that is a part of the subject. Let's look at these sentences. Let's say, this is my sister. Okay, ovo je moja sestra. Sestra is feminine, so I have to use the possessive form which matches the feminine. Moja sestra. This is my brother. The brother is masculine. So the sentence will be ovo je moj brat. Do you remember the form for the neuter? Can you say, this is my village? Village is selo. This is ovo je moje selo. Ovo je moje selo. Now let's look at these three sentences together. Ovo je moja sestra. Ovo je moj brat. Ovo je moje selo. You can see that all three of these are the possessive pronoun moj, moja, moje, but they match the noun in its gender. Of course, in its count, it's all singular, and the case, it's nominative. The possessive pronoun your would have the same endings. Just remember, it's the different root, but the endings are the same. Moj, moja, moje is mine. And just slightly change the root a little bit. Moj, moja, moje. Tvoj, tvoja, tvoje. Okay? So let's try this. How would you say, this is your sister? Or maybe you're just asking, this is your sister? Doesn't matter. How would you say this sentence? This is your sister. Ovo je tvoja sestra. Excellent. How would you say this is your brother? Ovo je tvoj brat. And how would you say this is your village? Ovo je tvoje selo. Excellent. Moj, moja, moje, tvoj, tvoja, tvoje. Now, I do want to talk to you about the plural forms as well. So, moj, moja, moje will be slightly different. Moji, moje, and moja. Now, don't get confused with this, okay? What you will need to do is remember these in phrases with the nouns, because if you try to remember these on their own, they'll become very confusing, because some of the forms are the same, right? So it can become confusing. But if you use a noun together with the personal pronoun that you're learning, it'll become much easier for you. For the plural, I would like to use a different noun for the masculine, because the noun brat becomes a little weird in the plural, so I don't want to confuse you, but let's use another word. Let's use a word for car, a longer word for the car. A car is a masculine, whether you say auto or automobil. It's the same meaning, the same word, and it's masculine. So let's use the shorter form. These are my cars, okay? So the plural form would be ovo su moja auta. Remember, cars are masculine plural nominative, and I'm using the masculine plural nominative possessive pronoun, moja. These are my sisters. Ovo su moje sestre. Now, notice that this form is actually the same as the neuter singular form. This is the reason why it's very smart if you learn the possessive pronouns along with another noun, or if you learn them as a phrase. Okay? And these are my villages. Ovo su moja sela. As you can see, moja is the same as the nominative singular for the feminine form. So just remember, you learn together with the noun. Again, for your, the same endings. These are your cars. Ovo su tvoja auta. These are your sisters. Ovo su tvoje sestre. And these are your villages. Ovo su tvoja sela. Okay? And remember the nominative, the case for the subject, the case for a noun that is a part of the predicate, that is a part of the subject, always use the nominative case. So the next case I want to talk to you about is the accusative case, because it's the case that you will probably more than likely use the most, because the accusative case is the case for the direct object. Now, let's look at the form for mine, yours in the accusative case. There is something very interesting going on here, and I need you to pay attention, okay? Look at the masculine. Okay, so remember how in the beginning I told you that there are actually more forms than the initial table that I showed you? And I want to show you that they're out there, but really you can only focus on the shorter forms, and they are most commonly used. So for masculine, notice that there is in the italics written that you use one form for the living beings and another form for inanimate objects. Now this is important, okay? So the form for the living beings is mog or moga. You can add the A when you want to emphasize the pronoun for some reason, but really you do not have to. You can use just mog. Or there is another form that is not used as much, actually. Maybe you'll encounter it in literature, but people in everyday speech don't really use it. It's the form mojeg or mojega. Again, I have put it in here so you will recognize it once you encounter it or once you hear it, so you will know what it means. So mog or mojeg, moga or mojega is all the same, okay? But you can use just mog and you would be correct. But this is just a form for living beings. Unfortunately, Croatian likes to complicate our lives. So if you're talking about inanimate objects, there is a different form. Yes. And this form is moj. Okay? Does it remind you of anything? Yeah, it's the same as a nominative. So let's look at an example, and we'll come back to this table later. Okay, so let's say a sentence, you saw my brother. Okay, because the brother is a living being, I have to use the form mog for the accusative. So, you saw my brother, you as masculine, vidio si mog brata. Vidio si mog brata. But if I want to say, you saw my car, the car is obviously an inanimate object, so you would use the other form, vidio si moj automobil or moj auto. Okay, so that's how it works. If it stands with a living being, it's mog or mojeg. If it stands with inanimate object, use moj, just like the nominative. Going back to the table, for tvoj is the same thing. So for living beings is tvog or tvojeg. For inanimate objects is tvoj. So I saw your brother, I'll say it in the feminine, vidjela sam tvog brata. But I saw your car, vidjela sam tvoj auto. Okay? The feminine and neuter, these are their forms. Moju is feminine and moje is neuter, or tvoju, tvoje for the possessive pronoun your. Please also notice the plural form. The plural form is the same for the masculine and feminine, and it's moje or tvoje, and the neuter form is moja or tvoja. The reason why you need to learn these together with a noun is that you don't get confused with all these forms that are the same. So let's look at some examples in the accusative. Let's say a sentence, invite my sister. Invite my sister would be pozovi moju sestru. Moju sestru, direct object, accusative case. I will invite your sister. Ja ću pozvati tvoju sestru. Okay? I want to borrow your computer. Computer is the neuter gender. Posudit ću tvoje računalo. Okay? I want to use your cars. Želim koristiti tvoje automobile. Now, in the plural form, the masculine doesn't differentiate between the inanimate objects or the living beings. So, at least something, right? So, I want to use your cars. Želim koristiti tvoje automobile. I saw your sisters. Vidjela sam tvoje sestre. I saw your computers. Vidjela sam tvoja računala, and so on and so on. So again, always use the noun with the possessive pronoun, and you will easily that way remember its forms. Another common case that you will use is the dative or locative case. The reason why we have put these together is because they always have the same form. In all the nouns, adjectives, pronouns, they have the same form. And it's hard to tell them apart anyway. Now, the dative locative form for mine and yours is as follows in this table. First, what I want you to notice is that the form for the masculine and neuter is the same, and also the plural for all three genders is the same. So we like the dative, right? Don't be confused by these three different forms for the dative. You see that there are some letters in the brackets. Again, you add the letters in the brackets if you want to emphasize the pronoun for some reason. You don't have to. So you'll be okay if you just know the form mom or tvom for masculine and neuter, and mojoj or tvojoj for feminine. And the plural is mojim or tvojim, regardless of the gender. Now, the dative is the case for the indirect object. Okay? The indirect object can be either a living being or an inanimate object. It doesn't matter. It has to be indirect. So what an indirect object means, it usually stands with the direct object. So you will more than likely have both dative and the accusative in the same sentence. Okay? So for example, I'm writing a letter to my sister. I'm writing a letter is the direct object, but an indirect object is my sister, to my sister. That's who I'm giving this letter to, or I'm sending this, who this letter is addressed to. So think of dative as the case of giving something to someone, addressing something to someone. In the rule of the thumb, you can say, if you, in English, if you can say to someone, for someone, it's more than likely in Croatian, it'll be in the dative case, okay? You can learn more about the dative and locative in our previous videos about the cases, and there I have covered these cases to more extent. So let's practice, okay? I want to send a message to your brother. Želim poslati poruku. I want to send a message. Želim poslati poruku. To your brother. It would be dative. Tvom bratu. Okay? I want to send a message to your sister. Želim poslati poruku tvojoj sestri. Okay? I want to tell a story to your child. Želim ispričati priču tvom djetetu. So this is when the dative is used as an indirect object. The dative is also used with some verbs and in some phrases. So if you are saying, I will go to, you will use the dative case. If you want to say you're laughing at someone, the at someone would be the dative case. You admire someone, diviti se plus the dative case. If you want to say thank you, the you or whichever other pronoun afterwards or noun you use is the dative case. And also thanks to the dative case. So let's look at some of these examples. I'm going to your sister's. Idem tvojoj sestri. Okay? She admires my work. Divi se mom radu. Now, rad is masculine form, so mom radu is the masculine dative or locative case. We made it thanks to your ideas. Uspjeli smo zahvaljujući your ideas. Tvojim idejama. Now, idea, ideja is feminine. Idejama is dative feminine plural, so I need a dative feminine plural form for the possessive pronoun tvoj. So, uspjeli smo zahvaljujući tvojim idejama. If you want to learn more about the dative, please visit also the articles that I've written about the different cases and also the article about the possessive pronouns. You can find it in the description box below, so you can have a lot more examples in front of you so you can read them and learn them better. So please check it out. Now, I want to quickly, before I go further, say that there is a reflexive possessive pronoun svoj. And I don't want to go into detail because there is a video about it that I made. It's called moj versus svoj, which one do you use? But very quickly, you can, of course, please visit that video. It's very explained in a lot of the details. But quickly, the difference is that you use svoj. Svoj means one's own. So I can say I have my dog. Imam mog psa would be what you have learned today, right? But because the dog belongs to me, to the subject, the reflexive possessive pronouns reflects back to the subject. So it's really incorrect to use the possessive pronoun. Then I have to use the reflexive possessive pronoun svoj. So instead of saying, I have my dog, imam mog psa, I would say, imam svog psa. But you would also say the same, imam svog psa, or on, he, has his own dog, on ima svog psa. Right? I have my dog, you have your dog. Ja imam svog psa, ti imaš svog psa. So notice that the reflexive possessive pronouns reflects back to the subject. That's why you have to use svoj instead of the regular possessive pronoun. If you want to learn more about this, here is the link up here to the video about moj versus svoj, and it's explained in a lot of detail. And we will continue with the next case. The next case is the genitive case, and here is the form for the genitive case. Again, the possessive pronouns for the masculine and neuter are the same, mog and tvog, and the feminine is moje or tvoje. Now, again, even though it does have the same form as the nominative, listen, it's a little different. The word is a little longer. Moje, tvoje. Okay, and the plural form for all three genders, yes, is the same. Mojih and tvojih. Now, when is the genitive used? The genitive is used with the majority of prepositions in Croatian, but also it's used to express possession, okay? Even in English, when you talk about your sister's book, you're using the genitive case. Now, the genitive is a little tricky when you talk about possessions in Croatian, and here's why. Let's say I want to say, that's a book of that's your sister's book, okay? When formed like this, the word order or the sentence structure in Croatian would be, this is the book of your sisters. And you only use this sentence structure when you use the possessive pronoun. If you lost the possessive pronoun, the sentence structure would be different. But let's go slow. Okay. This is your sister's book. Ovo je knjiga tvoje sestre. Okay. Now, again, if you lost the possessive pronoun, then you would no longer use the genitive noun. You would use a possessive adjective. Okay. If you just wanted to say, this is sister's book, you would say, ovo je sestrina knjiga. And you would use the nominative, actually, okay? But this is the book of my sister. This is my sister's book, because you're using the possessive pronoun. It has to be in this genitive form, okay? Ovo je knjiga moje sestre. This is your brother's book. Ovo je knjiga tvog brata. This is my brother's book. Ovo je knjiga mog brata. Okay? So the genitive expresses the possession. And in this case, it really does. When you're using the possessive pronoun, you need to use this longer form or the longer sentence structure. The genitive is used with multiple prepositions, and you can check them out in our other genitive video or the article that I have written about the genitive case. But here are some. For example, I'm sitting next to your brother. Sjedim pored tvog brata. Or the pronoun because. I have a job because of your dad. Imam posao zbog tvog oca. Okay? Some of the other prepositions are around, oko, next to, pored, instead of, umjesto. They all require a genitive case. The genitive case is also a case of partiality. So if you want to say a part of something, you would use the genitive case. The genitive case is very common in your shopping lists. I want a liter of milk, a kilogram of meat, and so on and so on. You use the genitive whenever you're talking about the partiality. So for example, here, have a piece of my sandwich, okay? Uzmi dio mog sandviča. Okay? I want to borrow several of your pencils. Želim posuditi nekoliko tvojih olovaka. And so on. And finally, I want to talk about the instrumental case. And the instrumental case, as its name says, it's the case of companionship or the case of using the tools for something or just an instrument for using something, okay? You can recognize the instrumental case by the preposition with. So whenever you have the preposition with, it's usually followed by the instrumental case. So the form for the instrumental case is as follows. Masculine and neuter is the same, mojim, tvojim, and the feminine is mojom or tvojom. And again, the plural is the same for all three genders. Mojim and tvojim, which is the same as the singular for masculine and neuter. So instrumental is actually quite easy. If you remember, the instrumental case is the case for companionship. So you want to say, I want to go with your sister. Želim ići s tvojom sestrom. Okay? Now remember, s, tvojom, although there are two words, they're pronounced as one. Želim ići s tvojom sestrom. You want to go with my brother. Ti želiš ići s mojim bratom. We will go with my car. Ići ćemo mojim autom. Now, when you're talking about an inanimate object, when you're talking about the tools, so when you're talking about the tools, then you lose the preposition s or sa. S or sa, with, is used only with living beings. So my teacher used to say, because a lot of the locals will still say ići ćemo s mojim autom, which is incorrect, but they say it, and you will hear it a lot. But my teacher used to say, you can't take your car by the hand and walk with him somewhere. It's the instrumental, it's the tools that you're using, right? So you're just using this car. So you will say, ići ćemo mojim autom, ići ćemo tvojim autom. Okay? Koristit ću se tvojim računalom. I'll be using your computer. Okay? Or we will go with my cars. Ići ćemo mojim autima. Okay? Or we will go with your sisters. Ići ćemo s tvojim sestrama. And so on and so on. So remember, the instrumental case is the case for companionship or expressing the tools or means to do something. Okay, we have learned a lot today. I hope that your head is not spinning. Let's do a little practice, okay? Before we do, please visit the article, because there you have a lot of examples that I haven't been able to include into this video, or this video would have lasted for 3 hours, okay? But I will use some of them now that you can practice in the article, and you can use these to remember and memorize all these possessive pronouns, okay? So for our practice, to make it easier, I will use these 3 different nouns, okay? The automobil, which is masculine for car, djevojčica, which is feminine for girl, and računalo, which is neuter, computer. So let's use the nominative, which is the subject, okay? My car is blue. Moj automobil je plav. My girl is beautiful. Moja djevojčica je lijepa. My computer is fast. Okay, is fast is je brzo. How would you form the possessive with računalo? Računalo je brzo. Moje računalo je brzo. Excellent. Now, how would you say okay, so my car is blue, moj automobil je plav. How would you say your car is blue? Excellent. Tvoj automobil je plav. My girl is beautiful, moja djevojčica je lijepa. How would you say your girl is beautiful? Tvoja djevojčica je lijepa. Excellent! And. Moje računalo je brzo. My computer is fast. How would you say your computer is fast? Tvoje računalo je brzo. Simple, isn't it? Okay, let's move on to the genitive case, okay? I will use the examples for possession, okay? So, these are the keys to my car, okay? Ovo su ključevi mog auta. These are the keys of your car. Ovo su ključevi tvog auta. Excellent. This is my girl's doll. Ovo je lutka moje djevojčice. This is your girl's doll. Ovo je lutka tvoje djevojčice. Excellent. And the mouse is next to my computer. Miš je pored, plus a genitive, mog računala. The mouse is next to your computer. Miš je pored tvog računala. Okay, is this easy enough, right? Okay. So what about the dative locative, the indirect object, okay? Let's say, don't come close to my car. Don't come close. Ne prilazi, plus the dative. Mom autu. Or I don't want to come close to your car. Ne želim prići tvom autu. He's looking for my girl. On traži moju djevojčicu. He's looking for your girl. On traži tvoju djevojčicu. Thank you for my computer. Hvala ti na mom računalu. Okay? Or tvom računalu would be for the second person. The accusative, which is the case for a direct object. Do you like my car? Voliš li moj automobil? But if I'm talking about a living being, do you like my brother? Voliš li mog brata? Okay. Do you like my girl? Voliš li moju djevojčicu? I like your girl. Volim tvoju djevojčicu. I can't give you my computer. Ne mogu ti dati moje računalo. Although here you could say ne mogu ti dati svoje računalo. And the instrumental, which we have talked about just recently, is the case for companionship. So let's say we will take my car, ići ćemo mojim autom. We will take your car, ići ćemo tvojim autom. She's hanging out with my girl. Ona se druži s mojom djevojčicom. Okay? She's hanging out with your girl. Ona se druži s tvojom djevojčicom. Excellent. He is using my computer. On se koristi mojim računalom. He's using your computer. On se koristi tvojim računalom. Okay, that is it for our practice. Please visit the article again for more examples. In order to learn the difference between moj and svoj, please visit our other video that explains that in complete detail. For now, if you want to learn more about the cases, all the links are in the description box below. Remember, please, when you learn the possessive pronouns, learn them together with a noun that is familiar to you, okay? A noun that you already know the case for, or the gender, especially the gender, so that you can memorize it more easily. If you just learn the forms, they will not make sense. It's very hard to do. So in general, whenever you're learning something, use it immediately and use it as much as possible. Try to make as many sentences as you can with as many words that you know. Maybe you know 3 words, then use them in different ways to learn different, to form different sentences with different cases, okay? And this way it'll stick easier, it'll make sense, and then you'll notice the grammar pattern. Everybody, that was it for today. Please visit our other videos and articles. If you did like this video, hit the thumbs up and leave the comment below telling us what you liked, what you didn't like, what could have been better, what is the easiest way for you to learn grammar or the possessive pronouns. And please watch out for the next videos about the other possessive pronouns in the groups that I have talked about earlier. Until then, happy learning, everybody. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I will get back to you and answer them to the best of my ability. Happy learning Croatian and good luck. Sretno I doviđenja!